Welcome back to the European LCS. As we see there, Rocket, after their 2-0 week, gearing up to have some interaction with their fans. But now here, the Copenhagen Wolves are looking to even out their head-to-head record against Origin. Let's start by taking a look at those lineups, starting with on the blue side, the Copenhagen Wolves with Youngbuck, Shook, Soren, Freeze, Unlimited, and their coach Dentist. As said, well, a rough start, a rough split so far. They have their new jungler in there. Let's see what they can do today. A rough task up ahead as they are up against the 7-2 Origin with Soaz, Amazing, Expeke, Niels, Mithy, and their coach Leduc. So Origin managed to beat out the Copenhagen Wolves back in week 2. When we look at these two matchups, we said in the beginning of the day, Fnatic versus Gambit is kind of a mismatch, but Gambit put up a great fight. In this case, it is again Origin versus Copenhagen Wolves. Copenhagen Wolves should have a pretty hard time in this one, seeing how the aggression has come out of OG. But on the other hand, their new addition, Shook, yesterday, good first showing.
Yeah, in this match, the new old jungler is going to face the old jungler of the Copenhagen Wolves. There's a lot of history between a lot of the players in this game. But honestly, when you look at Shook on his first day back in the LCS here for the summer split, had a pretty good day overall. 2-1-6 when the rest of his team were just not quite performing. The team KDA 10-20 to the 2-1-6 of Shook. So clearly Shook still has a lot left to give here. Can he kind of lead the Copenhagen Wolves maybe back onto the path of victory?
The theory's possible if the laners can keep it up. And yesterday that wasn't the case. Despite Shook helping out Soren, Youngbuck got heavily targeted by Rocket. Youngbuck gave up 5 deaths before 20 minutes. Now that's not entirely his fault because he was so heavily ganked. He was dove multiple times. And for a player like Youngbuck, who has been very outspoken on social media about this particular game, about the challenges that the team is facing, he's also been talking about facing Amazing and Leduc, who are on the side of Origin. So there's a lot of personal pride in this matchup for Youngbuck, especially considering how heavily targeted he was focused yesterday.
Yeah, and I'd like to pick up on that very quickly about yesterday. It wasn't just that he was heavily targeted. I think it was the first time we saw Steve being very comfortable on that mobile echo. We just saw Steve in the last game as well, looking even better.
Yeah, definitely continuing that. The Copenhagen Wolves, though, here up against Origin. Well, Origin, they have had a fantastic record. And yesterday versus Gambit, it honestly seemed like a different Gambit than the one we saw today, especially because Origin yesterday got a lot of, well, good picks gifted to them. And in general, they are still so aggressive when it comes to that early game.
And this is one of the things I kind of was talking about back in week 1, was how confident Origin's play is going to become once they've had a few weeks of play under their belt. You can see that against the teams that they should be beating, they're making very aggressive plays in the early game and trying to force their opponents out of the game rather than just saying, hey, we're better, we'll play it in the mid game, let's try and force people out.
And what I like as well, that little clip we saw is somewhat of an adaptation of what H2K did in that 4v0 play where you can nudge your opponents away from the lanes, get those early towers. I just want to talk about Expeke. He played Vladimir again. It's been his go-to pick all summer long. He got his first kill before 10 minutes yesterday, and he just was super aggressive and super in your face. Flash Hemo Plaguers, ghosting for kills, and he performed exceptionally well. It's good to see that Pekka, he's not needed to carry, but when an opportunity is presented, he's sure as hell going to take it.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be a very interesting lane matchup versus Soren as well. And I do hear that the teams are ready on stage, so let's check in with our casters and get that game going.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Crepo and I are swapping in under the desk as we head towards picks and bans, is, of course, the Wolves and Origin. So, Crepo, this match, we've been talking about mismatched ones or ones that definitely favor a certain team over the other. Any thoughts on this one, Extra?
I just think, yeah, Origin is a clear favorite here, but I just want to see what statement they make. Every team in the top 3 so far has put away the Wolves quite convincingly. And then the Wolves have looked good in the non-lane swap scenarios or standard lane. So I want to see what happens this game. If it's a normal lane, how well can the Wolves match up against Origin? If it's a lane swap, where does the better shot calling come in? And have the Wolves learned anything from their game last night or yesterday, pretty much, yeah? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, there's a lot to take away. We'll see if they're able to do it as we head here into picks and bans. Vladimir off the board, that is definitely something that should help them out as it's been a favorite of Origin, as we talked about earlier. Shen taken away against Youngbuck, and of course, the Thresh is the next ban.
Yeah, Vladimir ban against Expeke is to be expected almost. He's played it a lot. I imagine he has a lot of other champions ready to play. Origin is likely to start targeting Freeze. Not sure if they'll actually end up banning the Draven or not. They get rid of the Kalista. Rise is still open, but it has been left open more and more recently. Respect ban for Sivir too, so the Wolves might actually go for that that Draven pick later in the draft.
At this point, you know, I feel like the Wolves have got to start pulling out some things that people haven't seen for a little while, because what they're doing currently is just not working. However, with the Alistar left open, that's locked in immediately by the Wolves. We'll go ahead and grab that one. Very, very powerful first pick. Let's see what Origin answers with.
Yeah, Origin get their pick at a litter in terms of tier 1 junglers. If Amazing wants, he can also secure Gragas or Rek'Sai. Or if he's fine waiting to just get either of them, we can get some power picks early here. See the early Corki pickup. It's interesting.
And the Echo comes in, so still no junglers there.
In my opinion, Corki is the third in rankings if you look at Kalista and Sivir, because he still has a lot of utility, has an early power spike, and he has that wave clear with the rockets. However, he'll have a hard time laning against the Draven if he can connect a couple of axes in there. And it looks like, yeah, Lulu in the solo lane. Not sure if that's going mid or top.
Well, you did call it. The Wolves would attempt to pull out the Draven. They do go for that one. So still, the junglers have fallen very, very far down this in the rotations, and it looks like Origin thinking about if they want to take it right now for Amazing. The Gragas, that is. The Rek'Sai, of course, also still available.
I mean, there's no prio on taking a tier 1 jungle. They're roughly equal in terms of utility in game, and who knows, Shook might just say, hey, I just want to play Lee Sin again. Had a decent performance. Origin, I'm iffy with the respect hover. I usually don't touch on hovers too much, but
it's a Bard, you have to.
It is a Bard, indeed. Not likely that it'll come out. So Janna, just to try and keep that Corki alive here. I don't like Janna Corki as much, though, as a unit. In a lane, it's alright, but it just has weak offense, it has okay defense, but it just doesn't strike me as a power combo.
Yeah, it's very, very safe, but, you know, against the Draven, arguably that's what you're trying to do, and also they're going to have to maybe deal with that Rengar as well. That's locked in, of course. We know Shook played that, of course, when you were on that team last split, and also the Orianna comes out. So now we know where the Lulu's going to go.
So a very distinct goal of this Copenhagen Wolves composition. They want the ball delivery system with the Rengar invisibility. Put that Orianna ball on his back. He leaps in. Then Orianna ulti comes out. Then the Wild Growth comes out from the Lulu, followed up by some peeling from Alistar. And in that midst, you want Draven to be untouched and just dealing a whole lot of damage. And that's the idea for the Copenhagen Wolves, but it is very hard to execute that against a team that's ready for it. You know, one pink ward, one monsoon, one explosive cast from Origin side, and things can go awry really easy.
Yeah, I remember this back in Season 4. They called that the submarine composition.
Well, that was
difficult to pull off. With the Rengar.
Submarine is the Twitch with Shen.
All right.
In my books, at least. But yeah,
I still think it counts with the Rengar, Crepo, but let's see how they do it. It is difficult to pull off. I absolutely agree on that. Origin, with this timer ticking down, they look like they're going to go for the Varus. That means, of course, Soaz is going to be rocking this Echo. What is this team comp trying to do against the Wolves?
Yeah, I think the Janna pick kind of telegraphed what Origin has been running, and we've seen Fnatic do it. Whenever they lock Janna in, they're playing a triple threat composition, 3 carries coming out, no real tank aside from the jungler, so they want to disengage on the support because there's already enough damage on all the other roles, and they want to keep that alive. They combine that Varus mid lane with the Corki bot lane. And what I like it because it's AD poke in the mid lane, it's AP poke in the bot lane as an AD carry. And then you still have 2 AD factors mid and bot, so what do you supplement that with? An AP top laner. And you want these guys to run amok and just do a whole lot of damage in these fights. If they get caught or engaged on, you want Janna to reset the fight. So we'll see a poke siege comp coming out from Origin here, potentially with Soaz split pushing and looking for the flank on the Echo, and we see a hard engage composition with a decent amount of zone control coming out of the Copenhagen Wolves here. So definitely the man to watch here is Shook and Freeze.
For the Copenhagen Wolves, indeed, as the two coaches will give themselves a little bit of a shake walk off the stage. So we're getting ready to get into this game. We've talked a little bit about the Wolves. For Origin, of course, we've talked about that siege and poke they want to do. We know Soaz is capable of really stepping up and doing so much damage that no one can really 1v1 him. So let's see if the Wolves can indeed do that. As we get ready to start this game off, why don't you tweet your predictions at LOL Esports. That is going to be hashtag CWWin or hashtag OGWin. We're getting ready to get into the game. Guys, the crowd's hyped. How about you at home? Let's see what happens as we get loaded onto the Rift to start this one off.
Now we have seen Origin falter a little bit if they get put behind, and this composition will be very hard to come back with as well. If the poke suddenly doesn't do enough damage to scare the Wolves, and Freeze in particular gets rolling on that Draven, then scary things may happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really didn't factor as much into this whole Orianna, Rengar, Lulu combo, or even the Alistar. You've got Freeze on a champion that he's incredibly comfortable with. We saw him make some massive plays back in spring. There's a reason it's been a pocket pick for him.
Yeah, it just does a lot of damage, and it's very hard to kill, and that's something I actually haven't mentioned so far. You see Good amount of shields. Soren right there has a shield level 1 for himself. Later on, he'll be putting that on top of Freeze. And then you have the other shield from Youngbuck coming in with the help picks. And that way you want to buff that Draven up, keep him alive, and let him just throw axe by axe by axe and just try and get through those 3 carries from Origin.
So far, it's been an aggressive line of scrimmage, but teams lining up along the river and the lanes nonetheless. We see what might be the standard lanes coming out. However, these 2 starts, I want to highlight the resurgence in popularity of the Ancient Coin, of course, for both supports. This tells me one thing, Crepo. This tells me that I think we might see quite a lot of roams going on in this early game.
I mean, coins do have the value if you just sit in the lane and just stack it up. It just has been buffed, so it's just become the superior item. And even before the buff, you would often run a coin on Janna. You could go for Spell Thief for that little bit of extra harass, but after it got buffed a little bit, definitely the first choice on Janna. And then Alistar has become more of a sustainer in the bot lane, so understandable that he gets the coin as well. Just get more mana regen, pump out those heals. However, I want to see what the lane situation is. Origin indicating a swap here. Not sure if they... I feel like they're calling a swap from potentially from the Wolves here.
And Niels and Mythi are going to move into the Copenhagen Wolves jungle. They find Shook and Youngbuck there, stopping the Gromp. Now they've got to make it out. Meanwhile, Unlimited was trying to do the same thing to Amazing and Soaz, but not successfully. I call that an early win for Origin.
You're not quite sure why this swap is happening. I imagine Lulu does well into Echo early, and Corki Janna should do fine into Draven Alistar early. So perhaps they thought the Wolves would swap and try to match them, but doesn't matter what happened or why it happened. What matters is that it happened. See a lane swap scenario. The Wolves traditionally not the best lane swappers.
No, and I think Origin, knowing full well of this, going to try to take advantage of it. So we do see the top side heavily dominated by Origin members. Could turn into a 4v0 if it comes to it. A little bit of time being taken by Copenhagen Wolves to get to the same place, since they did start up top, but had to vacate.
Yeah, they forced the Copenhagen Wolves out of their jungle rather, while Origin started on their weak side. So a whole lot of camps available for Amazing and Soaz right here. They're doing the standard 4v0, clearing the enemy's jungler, having that threat for a potential dive, saying, hey, Copenhagen Wolves, obviously you can't send your teleport here. You'll just die if you try to. Just trying to get out of that farm. Let's see if the Copenhagen Wolves actually keep pushing that bot tower. In the previous situation, we saw Freeze bounce the way back and freeze immediately. See if they've learned their lesson and start threatening this tower immediately.
Well, they will be moving forward, so no freezing for Freeze. Shook and Youngbuck are moving in as well. It's going to be a little while before Amazing potentially joins in, or maybe he won't at all, since it's only 3 members right now really needed for Origin to do this damage. Let's see who finishes the tower off first.
I like that Origin is rushing this tower down immediately to bounce that wave back. However, I would like to see just Soaz stay in the top lane and take that farm afterwards, the same way Fnatic got Huni Head in the pivotal matchup. He got that bounce farm. Soaz looks like he's basing, so not sure if I agree with that one. Maybe they just want Corki higher. They're playing a double pole composition, so Echo kind of falls down the priority list a little bit. They just say, hey, we want Niels to get a lot of farm, get a lot of levels. I would have still preferred to see Soaz in the top lane, Niels in the bot lane. Looks like Shinobi's going to be in the top lane. Niels is basing too. Or he stayed. He finally figured it out. And he's basing. I'm done. Pyro, take over.
I'm gonna wait until the animation finishes before I actually say anything, so we'll do that. Unlimited is going to be going back as well. We'll see if now him and Freeze, looks like they're starting to take their trip up top. So we might see even more swap arounds. In the middle, we haven't touched on this as much since there's been a little bit of early back and forth. Soren has taken a little bit more damage from Peke than he's really been able to dish out. That's kind of to be expected. Yes, this is very true. Peke not having the problem thanks to Flask and Potions.
Yeah, sustained start from Xpeke here, putting on the pressure, and this is where Sora will get zoned out a lot of CS. Good wave bounce by both teams, so executed the 4v0 quite well. And now let's see if those lane matchups come out on top for Origin or the Wolves. Origin opted to keep the Corki in the top lane, sent Soaz to the bottom. Even the lane was pushing away from him. He has a slight advantage over Youngbuck right now. However, Youngbuck has a lot of creeps under his tower. He CS as well. He could even out that CS score.
And he's not necessarily on a champion that's in a whole lot of danger from being pressured all over the place. Lulu is one of those champions that's often picked for not being super difficult to gank, regardless of the lane. And Youngbuck will have easy access to that farm for a little while. Meanwhile, there's nobody there to oppose him in the first place. Everyone from Origin's looking topside. There's 3 Copenhagen Wolves here too, though.
Good CS by Youngbuck. Maybe drop 1 or 2. Stays relatively even in this lane. Right now, Niels wants to do the same thing. Farm on the tower. Should be easy The weakness of Alistar is that he can't punish you when you're CSing on the tower. Only the Draven can poke there, but Janna's shield is more than enough. And Amazing gets spotted in the river.
Pinged out, flying. Soren's going to go ahead and start his back animation right there. Amazing's going to do the same. He's within sight range of that ward in the river. I
love that noise.
I do love that animation.
I could watch Gragas base all day. And so can the Wolves, apparently, since he's on top of a ward.
So get that free vision of him. Freeze and Unlimited are going to be taking care of this Gromp. Will they go right back to the lane once it's all done? We'll have to find out. Keep an eye on Shook as well. He's trying to clear this vision out through the river. And will he go up? Amazing. No, he's going to be able to get out of town. He's going to be spotted, though, because he cleared the ward out. The dual lane of Niels and Mythi are definitely going to know he's here. Now, will they play more passively and back and allow Freeze to just keep on stacking up those adorations?
Yeah, and Shook spending time in the top lane, pretty telegraphed, whereas Origin have 2 wards in the bottom river right now. 2 pink wards, uncontested, unfound by the Copenhagen Wolves. And I don't like when people gank for and against Janna lanes. I feel it's pretty much a waste of time. When you gank with a Janna, she has so little offensive capabilities that it often fails. Yes, you might burn a flash, but that's your jungle revealed and time wasted. And if you try and gank a Janna, Janna Corki is so hard to gank. You want to get a little advantage over the laning phase, but Alistar, as he's a melee support facing up against double ranged here, probably can't get too much done just yet. Until the Draven gets level 6, I don't see ganks working out too well.
Let's see what happens. Shook is waiting in this brush. Niels and Mythi are going to back away, so Shook won't even have an opening to use. Peke, meanwhile, back in this mid, he's amassed himself a solid CS lead over Soren.
Youngbuck found 1 pink ward. He's going to find a second one.
He's coming up river. Pinged out right now, though, by Origin, and Amazing is on a collision course. We'll see what happens in just a minute as Shook goes ahead, gets himself a sided crab, looks to set up in the mid lane. Peke could be in trouble. In comes the cow. They're going to combo up on him. Shockwave knock. They missed that, but Peke still goes down to Youngbuck.
I like it. I like what Unlimited did there, but because in Peke's mind, he's waiting for the W animation from Alistar, and he wants to flash to dodge that combo. However, Unlimited knew that Peke was waiting for that, so he just Q flashes forward, knocks him back. Yes, it may look silly that suddenly Soren Ultimates misses, but that was the correct play by the Copenhagen Wolves, and they get first blood.
Yeah, now the Copenhagen Wolves might be in some trouble, or rather just Youngbuck, as Soaz found him, and so did Mythi. Soaz will take him down for a revenge kill.
Yeah, they got the first blood in full vision, and obviously they want to get back to the bot lane, but that was a little bit too easy. Telegraph path down the bot lane. Good capitalization from Origin. They knew that somebody had to come down, and suddenly where they got the advantage just now, Origin evens it out. Deep vision in the jungle. Steal the red buff. And yeah, Unlimited goes back to the top lane. He can't contest this. Copenhagen was falling behind in terms of vision.
It's not the only thing they're falling behind in. They have been a little bit down in gold. It hasn't been a massive differential so far in this game. We're not quite 10 minutes in anyways, but Origin are going to start off this dragon. There's pink ward in the back brush, but there's no way the Wolves can respond to this very quickly. The only one with the teleport's already on the bottom side, and Origin on pace to beat their average for dragons here by a good 3 minutes.
Yeah, and once Niels hits 6, once he gets those rockets, then suddenly he takes a step down in the priority list, and they want to get the farm towards Soaz. He just picks up a massive wave. Even had Janna shadow him a little bit once it was certain that Soaz could pick that up. Amassed that 17-18 CS advantage over his adversary in the top lane. Janna moves back to the bottom and the middle side of the map, and Origin in full control in terms of wave pressure too.
Quite a bit of swap arounds, and Origin's definitely getting the better of them. So, just shy of 10 minutes on the game right now. The dragon went to Origin, as we just said. Copenhagen Wolves are trying to make moves around the map, and they got that good first blood, but I feel like Origin are just outthinking them here.
Yeah, Shook picks up the Raptor buff to clear that ward. He hit level 6.
There we go.
Charging up. Yeah, for us to do stacks. He has 5 stacks. He has ultimate. Orianna has ulti soon. Or has ulti. Are they going to make it work? Peke still has his flash though.
Yes, indeed he does. Speaking of stacks, let's take a look down where Freeze is, or actually rather up where Freeze is. Just taking a look at him. Those stacks, those adorations, 180. Let's see if he's able to cash those ones in. Whenever there's a Draven game, I feel like you have to pay special attention to not let him get that last kill.
Yeah, the catch-22 with Draven is if you lane against him, you might give him a kill and give him the adoration stacks, but if you lane swap against him, he's still stacking that up, and then in that one first team fight, it could be a whole world difference. Yeah, but look at Shook poising around the mid lane, but there's good pink ward coverage by Origin. Both their flanks are warded, and they can spot a potential Rengar ultimate. Really want to see the Wolves take care of those pink wards.
Yeah, as it stands, Origin really are able to get so much done all around this river. Amazing. Yeah, and it's, you really know there's gaps in your vision when a guy that big can get through. Young Buck's in some trouble. In he comes. Ooh, he's going to dodge the belly bump. Young Buck's still slow. There's the big barrel coming out. Mithy was tanking the tower, and even though the wild growth is young, Young Buck is still going to go down to Niels.
Yeah, inferior vision control in the bottom side of the map, and Young Buck expended his flash earlier when he got caught and just punished from Origin. Now, the Wolves want to look at the other side of the map. Whenever something goes down in one side of the map, you always want to look for that cross-map objective. Origin respect the Wolves enough and say, okay, you will have multiple members in this area. We will just concede the tower, trade tower for tower, but we get a kill.
So Origin does, in fact, get that one. The tower's slowly going down here up in the top, thanks to Freeze and Unlimited, but Origin are already eyeballing this bottom side. Young Buck looks to come back in, but Amazing hasn't left here. He's waiting for round number 2. Young Buck's under tower. He may be in the trap.
So DP as well, so this might be a whole lot of party in the bot lane.
Yep, there he uses it. Mithy comes around the side. Young Buck, he's got no wild growth again, and this time it's Amazing who takes him down. 4 members of Origin down bottom. The Whirling Death comes in and hits Soaz a couple of times, but it's only going to sting.
Yeah, deja vu. Young Buck tweeted yesterday as well, thank you for the bot lane party or top lane party in one of his parting games, and it looks like Origin to send him off in the same manner. Honestly, he needs help. He needs help from his team. They need to get to him, or he has to concede those towers, but then he concedes them for free. So the Wolves need to make something happen. Having both your AD carry and support in the top lane just doesn't cut it anymore.
Not only that, they were really only able to shepherd a wave into it. They barely got any damage on that tower before Soaz and Mithy were able to arrive. So all said and done, Origin definitely taking these trades, widening that gold gap, and continuing to control this map.
Yeah, and Soren is still scaling. He's going for the tier to the arm guard for Zhonya, so very defensive scaling build. But we need to keep our eyes on Shook. He has to find an opening. He has to get that kitty cat invisible. And I believe, as the crowd indicates, Expeke stole away the Raptor.
Those are some very long arrows. Let's see what happens next as Origin just managing to take little things away from Copenhagen Wolves and a few big things as well. Blue buff should go over as well. Peke's going to take another one of those, and there really hasn't been anything super standard about these games other than the trade 4VOs. It's been kind of Origin thinking a couple steps ahead of the Wolves here since then.
Yeah, and Origin is playing a composition reminiscent to what Giants has been playing. Double poke on AD and mid, and then a split push component in your top lane. While initially the prio was on Niels, Soaz got some help as well. So he's now at 83 CS. You know, the game started up in a bit of a lane swap. He is stronger than his adversary. Even Orianna can't really hold him, so he's putting in the pressure. And then Origin want to group the remaining 4 members just for poke siege, and Shook is still looking for that first opening.
Absolutely, you said this back in Champs Select. They want to utilize Soaz to be able to push on the side. Young Buck can't really compensate for that. Lulu can't inherently split push nearly as well, but he's also being held so far behind. He's still 24 CS differential down. Soaz has just had a much bigger impact on this game so far.
Yeah, Lulu shines in these team fights where she can buff your carries, keep them alive, shield them, help picks wild growth, but if she's continuously locked down in the side lane, then obviously that utility goes to waste.
Having to use wild growth on yourself, I mean, that's usually a sign that something is going wrong for the team. Origin now looking to clear some vision out, stay bottom bound for a little bit while Dragon is due to come up in just under a minute, starting to stagger their backs away while Peke holds the line in mid. The Wolves looking to try to make a power play the same place, but will they be able to get it off in time?
Yeah, but still welcome to the League of Draven. It can all change in just one fight. A couple of kills start snowballing, but it has to happen soon. Origin take down another tower.
Easy peasy, not contested. 15 seconds on the next Dragon. The gold lead still about 2,000 in favor of Origin. 15 minutes approaching. Oh, Young Bucks, you got to be careful.
That hurts.
Legolas never misses. Dragon is up. Immediately started by Origin. No response from these Wolves. This one should be absolutely free.
And this is such a situation I see the Wolves find themselves in very often. More often than not, where they're just slowly pushed back into their lanes, behind their towers, on the defense. Very frustrating composition on Origin side to play into as well. What are you going to do when they outrange you by a screen and they just want to poke you down? As long as there's vision, it's so hard to contest those areas, because if Origin see you coming, And you take one step into the darkness, you're gonna eat a rocket. You're gonna eat an arrow.
And this is the problem. You aren't safe to secure vision. You aren't safe without vision. Talk about a catch-22 there. We'll have to see what they can get back, or if Origin just continue this pathway here. Copenhagen Wolves, you know, they're putting it on the backs of some scaling, but they're taking a while to get up to it. Freeze. Origin are not letting him get anywhere near a kill. Shook has attempted to be involved, attempted to provide pressure.
Good lane ward. This is what you do when you have river vision. You want to supplement that with lane vision. It's very hard for Shook to find an opening because there's no pressure from the Wolves' side. And when you put a team under pressure, they have very few openings in terms of the paths they can take to make those plays. And then Origin is smart enough of a team. Focusing a lot on vision, focusing a lot on mobility. Let's take a look at Miffy here. I believe those are the captain boots. If I remember my icons correctly. Yep, captain boots picked up on Miffy. He says, I need a side stone, I need Moby boots, and that's all I need. Roam around the map. Just keep putting those wards down. As long as the Wolves don't get in position for a group team fight, as we said before, their composition relies around a 5-man fight, initiated by Shook, with the ball on his back. Then Draven doing a lot of damage. Very old school composition and almost outdated in the current meta.
Certainly outdated as far as Origin's concerned. They're not keen on giving the Wolves any kind of opportunity like that. Just continuing to pressure those side waves, grab objectives where they can, avoid the fights, and as a result, we see this clean-cut outthinking of the Wolves. So, with that, Origin, they'll be looking to stack a little bit closer to mid. Meanwhile, Freeze and Unlimited, or Freeze rather, and Shook are down on the bottom. 3 towers to 2, and we've had no outer taken in the middle, but they got 2 in the bottom, and soon they will take this one as well. Unlimited actually caught up. Oh no! He's able to get out of the chains though.
And this is why Alistar is such a frustrating support to play into poke, because he can get very tanky. Oh, ulti!
Shockwave on Peke. He's taking a lot of damage, but the rest of Origin are there, and there was no follow-up. So Soren in a good pick position, couldn't get enough done.
All right, Soren interrupting me there with the Orianna ultimate. Yeah, Alistar is so frustrating to play into poke because in a burst teamfight scenario, he's very strong because Unbreakable will make you unkillable for 5, 6, 7 seconds, but you never want to use it against the poke. But it's too much damage to take repetitively, and then you start the fight on half HP, and you actually run the risk of getting bursted. Very frustrating to play, and Copenhagen Wolves are just a very short-range team. Look at the maximum ranges, like Blue is, 500 range, and her spells are okay, but she's behind right now. Freeze puts himself in a whole lot of danger if he has to connect those autos, and Orianna has to put the ball forward, then move it a little bit forward, step by step by step. So very slow, low-range composition on the Wolves, whereas OG, they can poke from so far with the Varus Q, with the Corki rockets. Amazing can body slam flash. Soas can dash in and dash out immediately, so a lot more options on their side.
Yeah, so they're not just having a lot of these options. They feel like they have the coordination to really use it. The Wolves, you know, they've shown in the last couple weeks that they really do have a number of problems. And, you know, they made a few changes to try and remedy that. You know, there's one pending right now, but for Origin, this is a team that just functions better as a team, and you can see demonstrated on this game right now.
Definitely good teamwork. Look at the damage every time, and we haven't even mentioned it. Janna's shield, the AD steroid, buffs up Varus too. So Miffy just a support. What a role here in Shook on the hunt. Finally, needs to find an opening.
He's not going to look for amazing, but now he is as he realizes he can't get to Miffy. Throws the Bulla over the Dragon Pit, but that is going to be all the Wolves can get. So, wave pushing in the mid. That game kneels Miffy. Going to start to try and provide some pressure here. A lot of Wolves sitting in this bottom side jungle, but Amazing is coming in as well. Soaz has himself a teleport. See if they can do something to the tower here.
Origin playing with enough respect. Consistently checking brushes with poke and then putting a ward in it. Moving up, trying to locate where the Wolves are and then thinking, okay, if I was the Wolves, what would I do? What is my play? What's my opening? Stay away from that ball, Origin. Might just figure it.
Oh, and he does. Mithy and Niels have to bail out immediately. Trap was snapped. Again, the Wolves cannot catch their prey.
But I mean, if you're in a Copenhagen Wolves position and that is your play, so ball lying on the floor, waiting for Origin to step over it and then back off.
Yeah, now they don't have to respect it as much. But Amazing, the damage on him is pretty heavy. Shook was there, but Niels was there to back him up as well. And the fight over the blue, probably not worth it for Origin, but at the end of the day, they still don't pay for it.
Pekka zoning Youngbuck out. This could be an opening for some damage on the tier 2 tower.
Oh!
That's a choke point.
Too late for the shield. Peke continuing to punish these Wolves. Unlimited now takes the damage. Still no wave here for Origin, but they're building one in the bottom. Freeze and Unlimited have to work quick to clear this out.
Yeah, and Freeze having to opt into the BT first to get a bit of that shield while he's wave clearing those single creeps one by one. So he has the risk, or he runs the risk of getting hit by poke. That's why he opted for the BT. Lower in damage. Copenhagen Wolves composition overall relatively low in damage. Once Rengar can get a nice leap on a squishy target. And that's Unlimited on half HP.
He paid dearly for clearing that one out. Peke's still sending him
Yeah,
lower.
they just want to force his ultimate. They tell him, okay, how many poke arrows are you going to take before you press R? Just ulti, and he's out of the fight right now. He's out of the equation, and that's the engage gone.
You can see that. Copenhagen Wolves are really forced, not just Unlimited, to spend those ultimates in defensive and utility ways. This is going to prompt Origin to be able to take a dragon without too much recourse. The ball doesn't have quite enough range there. This will be number 3 for them. 21.5 minutes into the game. It's a slow and steady move forward for Origin here. The respect that you were talking about that they're giving this comp, but also the lack of openings that Copenhagen Wolves just have because of it.
Yeah, and Origin don't have to force anything. They have time on their side. Poke scales pretty well throughout the entire game as long as you stay ahead, and they take 3 dragons. That means 12 minutes from now. Potentially have their 5th on the board. 33 minutes to the game, that's early. They can look for a Baron soon enough because the way they're playing, they have a very easy time forcing the Wolves back into their base, the same way Gambit forced the Wolves back into their game when they matched up against each other, and then they can just make the Baron area dark, put some pink wards, prevent Shook from leaping in and just poke them out whenever they enter the area. Punish the face checks, eventually pick up the Baron and look to close out the game that way. Very controlled game by Origin right here.
Very controlled indeed. If you look back all the way to when they played, these two teams matched up back in week number 2, it was a very quick game as well. It was 28.5 minutes before Origin pretty much dismantled the Wolves, but it was almost a different time, I would say, for both these teams. Origin had not really been challenged just yet. This time they're playing it out a much more methodical way. The Wolves still unable to find anything to really do here.
Different composition just coming out from Origin. I feel they're playing it at the exact pace they need to, because they know they have time on their side. And here we see Shook lurking. Kitty Cat wants a kill.
On the hunt, Soaz realizes something is up, throws down the convergence on himself, but he might be gone. There's gonna be the chrono break, and Shook is the one who's getting chunked. And Youngbuck could not get much done. Wild Gross himself, and Soaz styles his way out of danger.
Bit of lack of synergy. They could have comboed that snare into Wild Growth to immediately burst the Echo, in my opinion. They didn't get him. Soaz gets away. That means 4-man advantage on the other side of the map here. Poke on the top lane, poke in the mid lane. This might cost the Wolves the tower, but they have to. They have to try for the Itchings. If they don't, then they will get slowly suffocated and lose anyway. So, Wolves, I'm glad to see them at least try something, even if it fails.
Shook has really been leading the charge so far. Still unable to get too much done. Niels and Mithy now eyeballing this top tower. Unlimited and Freeze are there to defend, but you said it in Champ Select. Origin, they want to poke, they want to siege, they want to use Soaz on the side lanes. They're reading the same playbook, and they're doing it well.
Yeah, 4-1 split push or 1-3-1 with double poke. Controlling vision first and foremost. Chipping away at those towers when they can. Mithy has yet to use Monsoon, I feel, this game. He is disengaged, and Copenhagen Wolves might take a sniff and find Origin on the Baron.
It's already at half its health. Will they be able to get there in time to stop it? Or immediately Unlimited's going to go ahead and flash his way in. Origin a little bit chunked here. This is the all-in we were talking about, and there's that Monsoon. Stand aside, Origin. And they do.
Poke
Wolves
are
go in,
traditionally very weak in team fights. If you can just 5v5 them immediately down. You see the Wolves, if that combo connected, it could have been brutal. Could have been a combo from Rengar into Orianna ulti with the Raven ultimate through that. Origin will have to be careful.
Big ball comes in, amazing, and Soaz are going to take the brunt of it, but Sorin, also a bit of a scratch on him as well. So let's see if Origin push it back. Yeah,
that's, you can't push into double poke or single poke right here. They just clean the waves immediately. Pekka charging up.
Good all-in attempt though.
Yeah, they have to. They have to try and blow them up immediately. Origin not allowing that to happen. Fantastic Howling Gale by Mithy. Stops the headbutt short, and then Unlimited pulverizes as if he would normally land that combo. That would have been a quadra knockup if it weren't for that Howling Gale from Mithy. So solid disengage. That's his role in his team comp. All he has to do is prevent Copenhagen Wolves from getting to Origin, and rely on his team to do the rest.
Monsoon definitely helped as well. So Origin, once again, escape from what could have been a big win up for the Wolves here. They still have to find something to do, but The gold gap isn't widening as much. It's still a very slow march for Origin here.
Yeah, and you see that Origin also relies on Miffy to do his job because Neil still has his flash, Pekka still has his flash. You know, all the flashes are still up for Origin, so they rely on Miffy to do the disengage job, and they know he'll get it job done. They're not afraid. They hold their flash just for Orianna ultis. And it's so hard to play Ori into 4 people with flash up because you know a player worth their salt when they actually are threatened for the follow-up will just flash your ulti.
And Soren, you know, we mentioned earlier that he's trying to go for this very scaling build. He's got his Seraph's Embrace finished. He's working his way, of course, towards the Zhonya's. See if he has enough damage by the time. Oh, yeah. Still just narrowly away from Peke's arrows.
Talisman picked up for Unlimited, that's what they need. But they will be matched by a Talisman on the other side, Miffy. With the Janna passive 2 and the Captain boost, if he stays behind his team, they can run to him. However, they need to find Shook.
Do indeed. Shook is inbound, but he has to turn around. The rest of his team wasn't really able to keep up, and Origin once again able to disengage. Unlimited still taking a lot of damage. Freeze as well. Barrel comes in, and he gets knocked into them. Down goes Freeze. The shockwave lands on Niels and takes out half his health,
Yeah,
but nonetheless.
in the top lane. He canceled his teleport. He's gonna bang on that tier 2 tower. Origin with the double poke. This is exactly where they want to be.
27 minutes into this game, they've kicked things up into higher gear, prompted by Shook running in to try and get a pick. Instead, it was Freeze that went down. And guess what? It's Baron time.
A little early, I feel this Baron will be thwarted if the Wolves approach. Because they're not that tanky yet. They have the insane amounts of sustain. And they have slow damage with Pokemon, but the Wolves seem very scared due to the lack of vision. And look at that massive wave in the bot lane too. Origin in full control, take the Baron.
They grab it as Copenhagen Wolves were too skittish to go in. Soren making a last attempt to poke, but he gets poked out by Peke. Meanwhile, now they've got to send Wolves down bot. Let's take a look at that fight one more time, though. Or what could have been.
Shook going in, but of course he spotted a lot of lane wards and very telegraphed engaged. We said it in Champs League. The moment the Copenhagen Wolves locked into that composition, it was crystal clear what their plan was. And it was almost too crystal clear because Origin knows what's coming every single time, and they play with enough respect to never let the Wolves get in there. And if you're at home right now and you're queuing up for your rank 5s, you want to build your own poke comp, take a look at the items. Varus here, use that Muramana Last Whisper. A slight variation on what they used to call the Legolas build. Just to go BT first into Last Whisper just for raw poke damage. Pekka brings in a tier there with Scaly and Shook. Round 4.
Oh, Niels
Whoosh.
able to get just out of the way. And Shook catches nothing but air. Unlimited catches all the damage. And he's taken down. Origin now with a man advantage, starting to run forward and chase these Wolves back into their own base, howling as they go. Shook, wild growth on him, but he's still getting chunked. The barrel knocks him into his tower, and he's taken down by Niels. The rockets are flying. Soaz chasing down Soren. Origin have turned this game into a quick push-in after so much time waiting for the advantage to build.
Yeah, when a 4-1 poke split push composition can use their talisman offensively, you know you're in a lot of trouble. Miffy using the talisman there to speed up, try and catch someone. Eventually Shook gets hit. Battle from Amazing. Can power inhibitor, 2 kills. And at the same time, they take Copenhagen Wolves' pride with them. Such a hard game to fight. Very impossible situation almost for them to fix.
After all of that, not quite 30 minutes in, Origin have extended this gold lead. About 9,000 ahead of their opponents, or 8,500 rather. 3 dragons to 1. They've got all the towers on the map, and Copenhagen Wolves got a big fat nothing as they continue to attempt to all-in Origin.
And I think this middle tower tells the story of the game. 85% HP still on that. Unable to be broken open, and that's usually what breaks open the map in terms of vision, in terms of rotations, in terms of just map play. If your tier 1 tower is still alive at 30 minutes in the game, that means a job well done for Origin. Traditionally, you actually like longer side lanes because you can play with the waves more. You can push them in, bounce them back, deny some experience, and find them in the jungle.
Looks like what they're trying to do is Freeze stands them all aside, but still, it's the story of the Wolves. They're having to use these offensive abilities defensively time and time again. Not getting a whole lot done. The ball comes out, Soren checks Amazing and Soaz with it, but still, the waves are pushing.
Follow-up, so they're not afraid of the ball. Orianna uses the ulti, sure, that's their one engage. Again, watch Shook, watch his ulti, watch the Orianna ball, very telegraphed.
Baron disappears at a crucial moment. Still, they're getting a lot of damage on this tower, and Origin are not letting the Wolves leave their base.
On the hunt. Poke.
He's in, they're going for it. He's gonna get knocked out.
Gale
There's the Whirling Death. The ball's gonna whiff. Unlimited, and the rest of the Wolves are getting knocked all over the place. The tower is lasering down Soaz, but he jumps back in, and it looks like it's gonna be Soren and Youngbuck already down. Origin can now peck away and finish off the turret and an inhibitor.
Alfonso does it again. Miffy with the beautiful disengage, but he knows what's coming. Drops the pink ward. The second the Wolves keep moving forward, they know that there's a Rengar coming in invisible. Just pop the Howling Gale, interrupt his leap, monsoon him out, reset the fight, get away from that Orianna ball and clean up.
Keep cleaning up. Big explosions to take down the Alistar. This game is
kill on the board
all
for the
going to be over.
Wolves.
They cannot get much done. Shook continuing to try and find an opening, but he's forced away. Now it's just the bare Nexus, and it looks like Origin in 31.5 minutes. If they can finish this one off, they'll take another kill onto Shook, have finished the game against the Wolves.
One in 10. One kill for the Wolves. 10 kills for Origin. And just tells the story of the game. That middle tower still at 85% HP.
It's a controlled game.
Controlled game, continuous poke. Very old school type of composition. I don't really know when I saw it last. I feel like Elements or Alliance back then had a lot of success with it back in the day. They tried it at the start of Spring Split too, but very outdated composition. Too low on pressure, too low on range, honestly. Continuously outranged by Origin. Outpoked. And then disengaged from Miffy. And the Janna pick on the second rotation on purple side kind of telegraphed what was going on. That's why they went for the Corki early.
Smiles on the faces of Origin as they complete their 2-0 for this week.
Put some pressure on H2K.
Absolutely. You're not safe in second place. That's the statement they're sending there. As they, some big high fives given to all the fans around the board. For the Wolves, and it will be Youngbuck's last game with them.
That was Youngbuck's last game for the Copenhagen Wolves. Gets a lot of flack, but honestly, Copenhagen Wolves as a team, I feel that the source of all their issues is just the teamwork. They're not a well-oiled machine. And then it's easy to pick out the weaker parts and just keep ganking them, keep putting them behind. And they tried with the team composition, but they couldn't bring it to fruition. Countered stylistically by Origin. They tried to find the opening on the hunt every time. Orianna ball on top of it. Shook tried, but just couldn't find the opening. And props to the Origin. We said usually they have a snowbally team, you know, they get ahead early.
One style,
if
right?
they get behind, then they start losing the game. But now we see a different Origin, calculated, slow, methodical, no trigger happy fights, no fountain dives at the end.
Yeah.
So a lot slower game from them.
And this is the evolution of them, right? This is what was sort of missing from them that was present in the top two, the versatility, being able to play multiple styles, being able to recognize what any given enemy is doing, and they really proved it here against the Wolves.
Yes, they did. Obviously, I want to see how they do it against slightly stronger opponents, people that push back a little more, see what obviously what Origin is doing, because their composition was pretty straight up, you know, identifiable, so they knew exactly what, if we looked at both team comps in Champs, like we saw what they were doing. Completely different things. Origin coming out with a 4-1 split push. And yeah, this is the second team that seems to run this. Origin first, Giants has run it, so we might see a bit of a resurgence of poke. Honestly, it can be enjoyable at times. Not too many kills, but there's these slight subtleties.
Some snipes a couple times.
Yeah, snipes here and there where we go Olay with the crowd, but I like a poke comp once in a while. Well, not all the time.
It's also like down to the execution, right? Like there were a number of instances where Shook went in and nearly got it off, but we talked about it all the time. Mithy, they trusted him to get this done. Look at this guy, 100% kill participation because he was always at the right place at the right time. He had the Howling Gales, he had the Monsoons. Every single time, either Shook or Unlimited would come in. Instantly, knocked up, knocked back. No way are you getting near this team. And they were able to bail out of every bad situation that came before them.
Yeah, Mithy, very efficient build too. Moby Boots with Captain Enchantment, Ruby Sidestone, and a Talisman of Ascension. Bread and butter. Mobility, vision, and more mobility on Miffy, and then this allows him to disengage, and yeah, clean-cut victory by Origin.
Absolutely. Support builds by Crepo as well, guys. So with that, we're going to go ahead and send it over to the analyst desk. They're going to have a word with Origin after their 2-0 week.
Definitely 2-0 week once again for Origin, as I'm joined here by Niels and Soaz. Congratulations, gents.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, very good job. Let's talk a little bit about this game. It was very, very clean and about picks and bans, leaving Freeze's infamous Draven up, and then you going for the Corki in the very first time. Tell me how everything fit in the game plan.
We had a scenario in scrims where Sivir and Kalista are banned, and Corki is picked, and we're like, okay, free lose. We can't do anything, because our AD cannot do anything, you know, playing Lucian, far range champ against like poke comms and this kind of stuff. And we just get, you know, yeah, we just FF20 because we can't do anything. So we tried this game. Even though Freeze plays Draven, it's like he needs the team to do something, you know. He needs the team to engage for him, like, because he can't hit anyone himself, you know. He can't do anything by himself. But I don't know why we left Draven open actually.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. We should ask our coach. We have this team discussion always. Like we discuss about it the same day, and sometimes we just throw bans because we don't necessarily think that. We just, for example, we just want to ban 1 or 2 heroes, and the third one is like whatever. So we just throw random bans sometimes.
Okay, well, you might not get away with not banning Draven next time.
Well, the picks and ban strategy seemed very solid. We just saw on screen 2-0-1 on Echo. A very clean performance from all of you. Echo in this game, why specifically against the Copenhagen Wolves you Soaz?
I actually wanted to play him since 2 weeks or something already, but the 2 past games were not the best to play Echo, so I played different champions regarding the team comp that we had and they had. So this time I played Echo because it was fitting well for picks and bans and about their team comp as well, or about the champion pool of Youngbuck and stuff like this. And yeah, about this game I was mostly catching side lane, so didn't have many kills or assists, so a bit unlucky for me.
A bit unlucky. We did saw a very nice outplay there from you when they came for you 2 versus 1 and you escaped. You wanted to flash in for the kill, I think. You did. I knew it. Yeah. Well, you mentioned Youngbuck, his presumably last game in this one. You guys focused him a lot, but I feel like it was... Does it fit in your game plan to have that pressure on him because you could move to Dragon from there, or...?
I think we are a really good team at lane swap. We used to be like 1 month ago, maybe we were not so good, but we practiced so much in scrims. It was every time like... We are so bad at lane swap, so we are going to practice lane swap only for a month or something. So I think right now we are pretty good at doing lane swap, and we just abuse it in LCS.
Well, it seems to be working out. Final question for the both of you, as we have a rookie here and then a little bit more of an older player, or should I say more versed in the league. In the beginning, the very first show actually, where you guys got in the split, so as you said, okay, we don't want to say too much about our expectations, but now with the results that are on the table, are you changing your opinion somewhat?
I have different opinion. Like, for example, for PK would have been fine being top 5, top 6, as long as we get to play playoff and have a good shot playoff, it's fine. For myself, it's more, I have the same expectation when I was in Fnatic. Like, I always wanted to be top 2 at least, and my expectation is like to at least try to play the finals always. I don't know for Niels.
I think when we came here the first time, I said that I thought we would be a top 5 team, and now I still think the same. Like, I just want to be either top 2, so you get the seed thing, or I want to be top 6, you know, to get in playoffs. Everything else doesn't really matter in this the format that we're playing. So, but I think we're a good team.
But you're thinking of the seed, so you definitely, as a rookie player, you just want to make it to Worlds.
Yeah, that would be nice too.
That would be nice too. Well, 2 in a week is nice as well. Thank you guys very much. Congratulations. Now, way back in week 2, the Giants beat Elements after Pepinero shut down Froggen in the mid lane. And now it's Froggen's chance for revenge as the two meet again in our next game. We also have a tweet because earlier we asked you guys who you think is going to climb the standings in the second half of the summer. And Insanity Plea TTV tweeted, Froggen and crew have all the elements for a late season surge. They just need to be more Fnatic about it. I'm going to leave that right there. Don't touch our browser. We'll be right back.
Really?
Don't be mad because I'm doing me better than you be doing you. Don't be mad because I'm doing me better than you be doing you.
Limited still taking a lot of damage. Freeze as well. Barrel comes in and he gets knocked into them. Down goes Freeze. Wild growth on him, but he's still getting chunked. The barrel knocks him into his tower and he's taken down by Niels. The rockets are flying.
Oh, no. Rengar.
I'm gonna zone. Freeze?
Yeah.
Actually,
Oriana, no flash. Oriana. No flash.
Sniper. No scope.
Origin in 31.5 minutes have finished the game against the Wolves.